This morning, we're getting a new look at the 29-year-old man suspected of yesterday's shooting attack on the ICE detention facility in Dallas. Sources say his name is Joshua John. This mugshot appears to show him booked for a prior offense back in 2016. The FBI says he was perched on a nearby rooftop and fired indiscriminately at the building and the vehicles on the property. One person who was in ICE custody is dead. Two other detainees are now in critical condition. The FBI Director, Kash Patel, posted these images of bullet casings found near the shooter. One bullet is inscribed, quote, anti-ICE. Joining us now is Sarah Saldana, a former director of the Immigration Enforcement Agency during the Obama administration. Sarah, thanks very much for joining us. Yesterday's shooting, as you know, is among at least 4 attacks or threats on ICE or Border Patrol locations in Texas this year alone. Are you worried this violence is escalating?
Of course, and thank you for having me. It is very disturbing. Law enforcement, and particularly with respect to ICE, the Homeland Security agents and the removal officers have always been subject to scorn and dislike. I know a little bit about that myself. I could not make either side happy, either the left or the right. It's a very controversial subject, but I've never seen anything of this ilk before. Certainly not while I was the director of ICE, and since then it's just escalated further and further. I'm very concerned for the safety of these law enforcement officers.
Yeah, we all are very concerned. The FBI director, Sarah, Kash Patel, says a bullet recovered from the scene was inscribed with the words anti-ICE. Investigators are still searching for a motive, but what does that tell you potentially about the investigation?
Well, it certainly says that it may point to motive, but I would not jump to any conclusions just yet. And I'll tell you just my experience, and I'm sure the experience of most of your viewership, is that there is no explaining disturbed people who believe that guns will solve their concerns or resolve a political question. Getting into the mind of these folks is very difficult. I doubt that they are activists in their own, if they have a party even, or they're just disturbed people. And that's the problem with the ramped up rhetoric, is you don't know who your audience is. And there could be a disturbed person who ends up doing something like this.
Despite the motive in this case not yet being clear, the President Trump, almost immediately blamed what he called radical left Democrats, and Vice President J.D. Vance declared it politically motivated. What does that say about today's political climate?
Well, it speaks to the failure of our leadership, particularly in the administration and in both houses of Congress, to really address the true problem here. Immigration is such a hot button issue, and we have nobody really coming to the table in good faith and saying we need to resolve some of these issues that are rankling the American public, either one way or the other. And it's horrific to turn at a time like this to a political and partisan rhetoric. I think Ted Cruz was took to the podium at the Dallas Police Department press conference and talked about how harsh words can lead to tragic consequences, but then proceeded just to highlight those that were actions taken against people on the right. This is not a partisan issue. This is a very important bipartisan matter. And whether it's Nancy Pelosi's husband or the congressperson in Minnesota, we should be at a podium together, not just one side or the other. But I would love to see 2 senators take to the podium and say this has got to stop.
Certainly does. Today, federal authorities are tightening security at immigration facilities all around the country. Given how huge and widespread President Trump's immigration operation is right now, how challenging is that new mission?
Well, it is very challenging. You could try to speak to those people on the inside trying to carry out the work as has been defined. And of course, that is one of the ironies here is, for example, in this instance, this gunman turning their attention randomly to the people at this ICE facility when it's not the removal officers or the staff in that building who are shaping policy, it's the administration. And so I would suggest that we do our best to try to try to ramp down that conversation. The mission of ICE should be defined. It has an extraordinary national security and public safety mission. The women and men who are there are dedicated to their mission. And you know, there's something so ironic here. Both the immigrants who are turning up at our border, who are seeking asylum or turning to this country for help, are doing so because they want to feed their families and have a living wage. The women and men at ICE are doing the same thing. They have a job to do. It is defined by the administration, and they are doing their best to make their own living. There's so many parallels between the two groups. To me, it truly turns up the irony in what is going on right now.
The former ICE director during the Obama administration, Sarah Saldana, thank you so much for joining us.